Chapter 938. Does it mean that I call the shots in Aroma from now on? That's impossible, right? She wondered. She could not process all that information at that moment. Wilbur patted her head and smiled, then said, Christopher will explain any questions you may have. Just go ahead and ask him. Tiff nodded in a daze. She could not snap out of it. Wilbur said, I'm sorry, but I received a call yesterday and I have to rush back to attend to some matters. Call me if you need anything. All right. Tiff nodded in a confused way. Wilbur stood and glanced at everyone before he left. Goodbye, Mr. Penn, yelled Christopher. Everyone quickly followed and yelled, Goodbye, Mr. Penn. Wilbur was gone. Christopher bowed in front of Tiff and asked softly, What should we do next, Miss Kirk? What do you mean? Tiff still looked confused. Christopher replied, Do we need to rearrange the dividend rules for all casinos? Where would you like your office to be? Where would you like to stay? Please let me know if there's anything you need. Tiff let out a long sigh and slowly glanced at all the big shots. Those arrogant bosses who usually ignored her could not even look at her at that moment. They avoided eye contact in fear. I'm very tired, so I would like to rest first, said Tiff slowly. Christopher nodded and said, All right. Should I take you to the room Mr. Penn used to stay in for the moment? Tiff nodded. Those big shots sighed internally. They could not believe that a woman would be calling the shots in Aroma. No one expected it. Tiff herself was the last person to even imagine this happening. She could not believe that she would become such an important figure one day. She kept thinking about what Wilbur said. Wilbur got off the plane in Seachertown. He received a call from Mr. Grayson as soon as he got into a cab. He hurriedly answered and said, Mr. Grayson, I just got off the plane. I'll be right there. I didn't mean to rush you, but Zedek insists on treating you to a meal. Come and deal with him, so he can hurry up and get back to work. He keeps staying around Seachertown. Are there no jobs in Lull Province? Wilbur laughed wryly and said, I got it. It'll be in room 888, right? Yeah, I'll be right there. Wilbur hung up helplessly, then told the driver to head towards Seachertown Hotel. He barely got back, but the phone calls would not stop. He got calls from Zedek, Benjamin, and even from Oren. They said Zedek had been waiting for 2 days in Seachertown just to thank him. Wilbur knew that Mr. Grayson wanted him to get closer to Zedek. He disliked socializing, but he could not refuse. Wilbur arrived at the Seacher Hotel lobby, and he hurriedly walked toward the elevator. He heard that Zedek had reserved a room after he was informed of his flight. Wilbur pressed the elevator button when he heard a voice saying, Move. Wilbur turned to look. He saw 2 muscular men escorting a middle-aged man to the elevator entrance. They stopped him from going inside without saying anything. What are you doing? Wilbur frowned. He wondered why the middle-aged men behaved like the hotel was his house. Wilbur was at the elevator first. He instantly got a glare from the man. The man gave Wilbur a once-over and said slowly, Didn't I tell you to fuck off because I'm in a rush? Got it. That surprised Wilbur. Was he trying to say that any stranger should avoid him wherever he went? Was the guy serious? Wilbur shook his head and said, There are so many holes around recently. What the fuck did you say? The man was furious.